Now that's kind of all mostly in the book. Certainly it is here. What just kind of generally around the league, what do you hear?
I hear the same things every year. I don't think that it really changes. Everybody wishes they had one more offensive lineman and one more corner. Man, it's just kind of like the typical thing. We're a little worried about our corner depth, or we got to keep our 5 linemen healthy. We don't feel great about where we are depth wise there. But everybody's quarterback is unbelievable this time of year. I've yet to talk to a team that says that they, man, the quarterback's just not locked in right now. So for the most part, that's what I hear. Are you guys hearing differently up there?
Did you not hear Salt?
Doing well?
Did you not hear Salt go viral?
It went
a couple weeks
viral.
ago? Did you not,
No.
DJ? Man, well, I know when the season ends, you take a 2-week
I turn it
nap.
off. Yeah.
I went to the first mini camp practice. It was the only one I got to go to. I was going to go to a second one the next week, and I ended up getting sick, so I wasn't able to go. But I went to the first open practice, and Darnold just had a bad practice. He didn't look good. Like, it's the only one I saw, and we talked about it the next morning, and he looked tentative. He did throw a couple of picks and a couple of throws behind people. That wasn't so much it as it was the tentativeness. And so we talked about it the next day, and then by coincidence, that was the day we had Mike McDonald on. And so I did ask Mike.
I don't like where this is going.
Well,
You have a clip of this? Can I hear this?
yeah, I'm pulling it up for you. Maybe Maura will be kind enough to pull it up while I'm talking. Maybe you could pull up Mike's answer, because I just asked him, hey, we haven't spoken to him since the change in the quarterback room, etc.
What did you say?
I said, is there any situation in which other than injury, Sam Darnold isn't the starter in the first week of the season? And this is what he said.
And I guess I almost have to ask, but I hate asking this. Is there anything that could happen other than an injury between now and the beginning of the season that would lead to a different quarterback?
No, you guys are crazy.
There's no way to ask the question without sounding like an idiot.
Like, I respect you got to ask it, but you guys, it's just a crazy question. There's just not gonna Sam's our starting quarterback. We love him. He's doing a tremendous job. I think it's funny that the media is out there for the first day, and all of a sudden they know exactly how good we're going to be and how good all the players are and all the tempos. We don't even put on pads yet. We haven't made one tackle. And it turns out at practice, it's a great way to build culture by letting guys know that they can't make mistakes. That's exactly what we're shooting for. So go out to practice, be tight, make sure you don't make a mistake, because then God forbid, you're the worst player of all time because you made one bad throw or one bad decision. That is not what we're trying to build. We want these guys to go prepare the right way, and then when they go out on the practice field, go freaking let it rip, and then we'll go fix it. We'll go. We got time. It's June. It's June 3rd. We'll go. Okay, they're going to get plenty of reps. We'll get those things fixed. I mean, Sam made a lot of great throws yesterday. He's gashing us on 3rd and goal to start the day out too. So, that was kind of a crazy question.
Okay. He was sitting on it like a fart. He was sitting on it the whole interview. Just when are you going to ask? Where did it
go from there, Brock? Was that the end of it?
No, that was kind of the end, because he had
about 10 minutes after that. That's where you show off the
you
real
asked
skill
him about
in
his
this
baby
business.
after that. You brought it back to
That's where
I think I did,
is.
right? I think it ended positively. We talked about Jack, his son, and everything.
Taking batting practice.
Yeah.
How much money did they give Sam?
That's just a crazy
I mean, a lot for this year, but they're not on the hook after this year. Honestly, it was not a question of hey, Sam looks terrible. What did you think? It was hey, if you had just seen that one practice and didn't know any of the people involved, you would have looked at it and said, oh, Drew Lock's a starting quarterback. Cool. It wouldn't have even been close. He was the best quarterback that you saw that day. Milroe still looked young, and honestly, that day, Darnold looked tentative. So the question was, we lived through Pete Carroll, where he had a legitimate competition between Russell Wilson and Tavares Jackson and Matt Flynn. Is this like that, or is this Sam's job? And, well, I think now we know pretty clearly it's Sam's job.
Yeah. I mean, Matt Flynn got decent money coming over there, but it was nothing compared to, and I know it's different, that the cap and all that's gone up, but this was not really competition money. For Sam, even if it's not long term, it's not competition money coming in the door. He's going to be fine. I mean, I have seen some clunkers over the years at some of these mini camps. I remember, gosh, it wasn't mini camp, it was training camp, right? You remember Jamar Chase dropped 4 or 5 balls in a practice, and that was the story, that he was a bust after a training camp practice. So It is ironic, though, but that you might have been at the one place where there wasn't, complete and 100% optimism about the quarterback play. Because when I talk to buddies and just that time of year, and you talk to people at all these different teams, it's always, whether the quarterback's coming off a great year, a poor year, whether he's young or old, it's always like, man, quarterback's locked in. He's ready to go. A lot of positivity. Yes. Unless Salk's at your practice, then it's all the world is coming to an end.
No, that is not. Please don't paint me into that world. That is not what I said.
Him and the running back weren't on the same page on an option route, and you're ready to ship the guy out of town. Jiminy Christmas.
You were feeding a narrative that is not true. Please stop doing that.
Don't feed the Sandlot dog. What is on
First
DJ's?
of all, hey Brock, what's Salk doing watching quarterback play when I know that Gray Zabel and the linemen were probably on another side of the field? I thought he would have been just laser focused trying to get a sense of the interior of this offensive line.
Yeah,
unfortunately, it's just it's minicamp. They're not allowed to touch each other, so it's a little hard. I did get eyes on Gray Zabel, who looks great. I still have no clue who's going to be playing next to him or what all of that ends up looking like. And we were talking to Matt yesterday. We were going to do some of this at 9:00, and Matt Hasselbeck says, hey, this is an identity year for the Seahawks. This is their opportunity to get, and we've heard, who was it who said Abe Lucas said running for this team is a non-negotiable, which is great. I love all that. Yeah. Do they have the offensive line to do that?
We'll find out. To me, I think there's also just marrying the offensive line with Kubiak's scheme, and we'll see what that looks like. So I'm curious, as the league has tended to get a little bit more gap-oriented, a little more power-oriented. So I'm just curious to see what it looks like, if this is going to be kind of real zone-heavy or whether they're going to try and get downhill a little bit.
If Daniel Jeremiah was a little bit taller, was a little bit faster, threw the ball 80 yards a little bit more with a little more crispness, and when he went in that weight room, where were you then? At Appalachian State, and got that phone call from your wife that you were going to be pregnant, and all of a sudden, you were going to be a first-round pick at quarterback. And that Daniel Jeremiah could pick whatever offensive system to go into in today's NFL. Which system would you that guy? Which system would he prefer?
Ooh. First of all, by the way, do you know how long it took me to take all those plates off the bar to go home to see my newly pregnant wife? It was quite a long time. Well, if I had all these skills that you just referenced, that I know,
traits.
Yeah. Gosh. Well, I mean, I think if you have an athlete at quarterback, what Baltimore's doing is probably the most fun way to watch and play offense. Just all the different things they can do. But for me, if I was going to be somewhat realistic, it would still be, with my limitations, and most quarterbacks don't have those elite top shelf skills. I still think that when you're talking about, Kyle Shanahan, and McVay's altered and changed a little bit over the years, but I still think, it's rhythm, it's timing. You're still working off some play action, even if you're in the gun or under center, it doesn't matter. But to me, anything that was more rhythm based, it was just more comfortable if you could find yourself in that rhythm.
Should that be what this system is? We hear Shanahan, you see McVay. Like, isn't that the very root of what you think Clint Kubiak and all this personnel wants to do?
That's what it's. Yeah, that's what is. Obviously from his family. People talk about the trees that you're under and what coaches you've worked for. How about the family you grew up in? That's what that looked like. So I think Sam's that way. I know I read an article this morning and was just kind of brushing up on the Seahawks and what was going on there. And there was an article on ESPN talking about the importance of Sam getting the ball out, of all the sacks that he took late in the year. And, is he going to be able to do that? And the two takeaways I had just from going back and thinking about those games and having watched those games multiple times was, number one, I don't know how many quarterbacks are going to not take sacks in that Rams game with the way they got destroyed up front. So, I don't put that totally on Sam. The other thing was legitimate, which is I do think, you want to hunt explosives, and sometimes that can take time, and sometimes you have to have some sacks in order to get explosive plays. But I think Sam is at his best when he's a back foot, one hitch and get the ball out. Like when he does that and he plays and finds himself in that kind of rhythm, I think that's when he's at his best. And I think that really goes back to USC. when he tried to get outside of the scheme a little bit, yeah, he can do that. He's a good athlete, but I don't think that's when he's at his best.
What does the weaponry look like in terms of setting up to allow him to throw right in time, right in rhythm all the time?
Yeah, I'm curious to see what it looks like of how they deploy these guys, and you guys would know, having been out there. I'm curious to see how they're going to marry up, with Cooper Kupp and JSN, and how they're going to, mix and match and deploy those guys, because both those guys can win early. They have the quickness to win early to be able to give you on-time throws. I'm just curious, and I don't know what they've shown or what they've said about how they plan on playing those guys off of each other. What have they said? Yeah,
it was a little careful with Cooper, I think, all offseason. He's in great shape, but, as a veteran guy, they want to get him to the starting line. So I don't, he's going to take a little less reps. JSN looks good. I get the sense that JSN wants to be a 1. Like, I'm a 1. I can play Z. I can play
outside,
flanker. Yeah. I think in his mind, and for a payday standpoint coming down the road, I think he wants to be a 1. I'll tell you, DJ, who the real X factor is. And we talked to you after the draft. We talked to you 2 weeks after the draft. Salky's instincts, I think, were totally right on this one. Just as far as, like, gosh, of all these picks, the one that's the most polarizing, or certainly like the big X factor, is Arroyo. I mean, they were moving him around. Former Seahawk receiver Brian Walters was in with us, and on the station, he's like, I didn't even know who 18 was. It's like, who is this big, athletic X receiver? Like, oh, hold on a second. That's not an X receiver. That's a tight end. What do you think realistically, if you were to project him? And I know we talked about it before and after the draft, but now 2 months later, can this guy be a dude? Can you come in right away as a rookie with his background and be a dude in the NFL?
I think he can win one-on-one. I think he can run away from guys. I think he showed at the Senior Bowl, he's got more route polish than you got a chance to see on film. My question with him, and we won't know till we get into games, is just the tight end position is such a awareness position, spatial awareness, feel, instincts. Like that, to me, I don't know if you go out there and watch, one-on-ones or even in 7-on-7, if you get a total understanding of that. I think we got to get to the games to see if he has that capacity that all those great tight ends have. But in terms of just, you got to line up and we're going to get the matchup we want, can you beat this guy? 100%. Yeah, that's what he's shown, and he's got big time range and agility. He's not stiff. So the talent is definitely there. Let me ask you guys one more question on the offense. And I don't know how teams are. Sometimes teams get upset if you talk about this kind of stuff. But are they condensed? Are they really tight and condensed with how they're running their offense?
I think it's a total mixed bag. Now, Salk was just zero laser focus on Sam. So
no, I wouldn't say that, but I don't know that I could answer that question. I don't have those kinds of eyes to be able to tell you what that looks like in practice.
To me, Brock, wouldn't you think it makes sense for them to kind of play condensed a little bit?
Yes.
With the guys they got?
What's the upside of that? Why would you mean condensing your splits of the offensive line and everything is sort of close together? What would be the reason to do that?
Well, I think it can help you in different areas. I think number one, if you have receivers that are tough and physical, which I think they do. Now you can block down. You can get receivers up on linebackers. Then you can leave the free man as a secondary player for your back. So it can help your run game, as well as now you've got a chance to really explode. And you want to run any type of crosser. Obviously, think about it, you're much closer. You're able to access the entire field from that standpoint. So you get a lot of mesh. You get a lot of rubs. It sounds weird because you bring everybody in. You'd think it would be more chaotic, but I think as a quarterback, to me, it can end up clearing some things out for you.
Yeah, and not necessarily, Salky, the splits of the O-lineman. He's talking condensed is a little more formation, a little more bunch, a little more tight.
Yeah, okay.
A little more of what Sean McVay did for a couple years there that had everybody chasing it and everybody, and I think when you're not elite speed, right? I wouldn't put JSN and Kupp as elite speed. Oh, I got to get him in space and elite speed. And you are more savvy and more nuanced and more feel and more instinct, which they are. Yeah, man, condense it down. Play it a little more in a phone booth. And, yeah, I think you will see a little bit more of that, DJ, for sure.
Hey, how about on the other side of things? We've spent so much time wondering and asking questions about the offense. The strength of this team really should be the defense. Year 2 of Mike McDonald. And, I've been beating the drum. I hadn't thought about it until a conversation with somebody who was like, Man, maybe they should go after Trey Hendrickson. Like, I don't know whether he's truly available or not, or whether that's what's going to go down. Adam Schefter seems to kind of change his view on that almost by the day. But if he is available, and a bunch of the things we've seen have said like a second and a fifth, something along those lines, not that much different than what the Seahawks gave up a few years ago for Leonard Williams, should they go after Trey Hendrickson?
If that was what the price is, I know you got to pay him a bunch of money. But heck yeah, I mean, I'd be in the business of trying to collect great players, and they've got a fast defense, they've got a very talented defense. But man, you throw in a guy like that who's gonna, he's gonna get off the bus and get you, 12 to 15 sacks because he's such a good, natural, instinctive pass rusher. And you're in a division where you got to go hunt Matthew Stafford. Yeah, 100%. I would try and be in on that. They're a good defense now, and they're a fast defense, and they're athletic, and they've added some more young pieces. But I don't know. Like when you get down to it, when you get to 3rd and 7, and you're looking at this front, you go, okay, man, there's a lot of really good players there. But I don't know that I'm looking at that group saying, okay, this is 100% where I've got to direct extra attention, and I think he would be that guy.
Is he still that good? Can he still be that guy for the next 2 to 3 years where, it's not just a 1-year deal? Because right now it's a lot of 1-year deals, right? DeMarcus Lawrence, 1-year deal. Cooper Kupp, basically 1-year deal. Sam, in some ways, contractually can be a 1-year deal. Is this guy still got enough in the tank to do and play the level he's played at, you think, DJ, for the next 2 or 3 years?
I think so. I think, to me, you kind of look at it and go, okay, was he a speed-dependent rusher? If you're a speed-dependent rusher, I think there's a tendency you can kind of fall off of a cliff. It's not really like a slow decline. Von Miller would probably be an example of that, and obviously he's kind of broken down. But you saw, like, when that's your main bag there, and that goes away, you're kind of not left with a whole lot. This dude is a technician. He's not even just a power-based rusher or a speed rusher. He does everything well. But he just has an instinct and a feel and a knack. And those guys, I think that prolongs their run a little bit, provided he stays healthy. He just knows how to rush.
Compare and contrast him and Max Crosby, because we know they would have traded DK and Geno for Max. Compare and contrast. We don't see a lot of Trey Hendrickson. Right. We haven't played the Bengals a lot. Yeah. We don't see a lot of right? So I think that he's a real outlier to me. We just haven't seen him a ton. Compare and contrast him and Max Crosby.
Max is a longer, twitchier, more explosive, more dynamic player who plays really, really hard, and obviously that you got to account for him every play. I think Trey is a more skilled rusher. I think he has more ways to win as a rusher, and I think that Trey plays inside the scheme more than Max does. Max makes some unbelievable plays, but he's going to get caught, and he's going to put them in some bad spots at times because he just kind of freelances a little bit and kind of plays his own brand. Whereas I think Trey is not going to vacate, and you're not going to get gashed on some runs because he's getting a little bit outside the scheme.
I know they sort of fit any scheme, but did they fit this scheme?
Oh gosh, yeah, absolutely. I don't think that there's a scheme that either one of those two guys wouldn't fit in. That's it to me. And I know
it's a crazy question, right? Isn't that a crazy question? Is that a crazy
not
question?
The craziest question.
Totally crazy.
The edge setting is still a big part of this thing. As much as we want to talk about the pass rush, edge setting is always going to be a part of that Mike McDonald defense. And Trey Hendrickson does that really well as well.
Okay, so DJ joins us, hypothetically. You come up, and you and Bucky do a podcast, and you come up to Seattle, and we treat you to some great Dungeness crab and some salmon, and just have a great time up here. And we head out to training camp. DJ's eyes, you're going to watch a training camp, big-time padded training camp practice for the Seahawks. Your eyes for this team this year are going to be where?
Whew.
What do you have to see?
I probably, to be honest with you, would be looking at Salk to see who he's watching. I think watching him watch practice might be more enjoyable than even just watching.
It's pretty
practice.
Good. I think you'd enjoy that, by the way. I think you'd be very impressed with what you saw. A lot of blink scouting.
Yes. You know what? I would like to see, I don't know how much you're going to actually bang in these practices, but I would like to see what this offensive line looks like. That's a good test with this interior defensive front. So, I think you'll get battle tested. I think you'll know going into the season what, how confident you are in this offensive line because of that group they're going to have to go against.
If you are watching me, you'd see a little of that, but then you would also definitely make sure you had eyes on Jalen Milroe. I just can't help it. I know that this has nothing to do with Sam Darnold or any of that. if you're going to put an athlete out there who can throw the ball and run like Jalen Milroe, my eyes are going to go there, and I can't help it. Maybe it's a fan, maybe it's a radio host mentality, but I want to see Jalen Milroe because he's exciting.
How are they deploying him? Like, are they just kind of just running the same plays that they're running with Sam as he goes and gets his reps at this point?
So far, yeah. I mean, and that's just mini camp and et cetera. So I don't know how much more will be there, but we've been asked a few times, like over under on touchdowns Jalen Milroe scores this year.
Sam Darnold now shoulders the burden of Seattle's offense. He isn't a gamble, though. Seahawks front office has constructed the roster to accommodate him. They moved assets, cleared cap space, and reworked the depth chart. Every adjustment screams that the system has to function around him, not in spite of him. Analysts outline a framework for success, but it's unforgiving. Darnold requires perfection and constraint. That said, improvisation won't salvage this experiment, but structure will. Indeed, Darnold isn't inexperienced. He's endured faltered systems, crumbled lines, and weird expectations that outpace the infrastructure. Seattle offers reprieve. That's not a blank slate, but a recalibrated environment. However, the team requires consistency more than brilliance or excellence. Besides, the team's offense demands fluency. Given that, Darnold has to operate on timing and restraint instead of instinct or spectacle, believe analysts. Okay, so innovation alone doesn't benefit Darnold. Analysts advocate for a tempo-built approach, which should include quick releases, defined spacing, minimal hesitation. Play action also becomes pretty important because it helps displace linebackers and expands windows. Notably, Darnold's best sequences begin when the defense is disoriented. Also, remember, bootlegs and lateral movement offer clarity. They recalibrate angles, simplify reads, and decelerate edge pressure. That tempo could make Darnold's delivery sharp and deliberate. Overall, it hardly has anything to do with yardage inflation. Practically, it's about rhythm fidelity. The offense must behave like a sequence, not a collection of plays. Darnold's missteps have rarely stemmed from arm strength. They've arisen from convolution, precisely, reads that stretch too wide, and options that arrive too late. Analysts recommend curating his progressions. They say rapid execution matters more than improvisational skill. Hence, complexity must be deferred. Ideally, the design should relieve the quarterback of excessive discretion, at least early. This configuration is expected to boost trust. After all, Darnold operates cleanly when he isn't deciphering defenses mid-snap. According to insiders, mobility should be deployed. Granted, Darnold has the agility to escape, but can escape be the premise? The question remains. Rollouts recalibrate his field of vision, and they evidently minimize backside threats and reposition pressure. Darnold performs better in structured movement, where his options are compressed but clear. These moments prioritize timing over risk, where short gains become sustainable sequences. Now, there's another factor to consider. Usually, Darnold collapses under duress, and it is well documented. Given that, analysts point to the necessity of structural protection. They say it's needed in personnel and philosophy. But what does that mean? Well, simple. Tight end chips, motion backs, and slide protections with contingencies. The call sheet should loudly display vulnerability instead of vanity. Remember here, every second in the pocket matters for completion rate and confidence. Interestingly, this iteration of Seattle is somehow assembling dependability. Analysts don't anticipate Darnold to carry games. Instead, they expect him to distribute, anchor tempo, and avoid sabotage. The ceiling rises when the quarterback is not erratic but dependable. That's the true goal here. While the pieces around him are calibrated, the calls will be deliberate. If the offense thrives, it won't be because Darnold changed. Practically, it'll be because the structure insulated him from transformation being necessary. Seattle isn't outrageously building around improvisation. This offseason, they've chosen to concentrate on building around execution. If Darnold succeeds, it will surely be from alignment between quarterback ability and offensive architecture. Subscribe for more content dissecting the systems, not the stars. Soon we'll unpack how Seattle's defense might turn into their unexpected edge. Stay tuned.